Hello, lovely people. Are you seeing the live stream? Okay, excellent. So I am live now. Perfect. I'm so glad Restream worked. Okay. Okay. I'm first trying to avoid the window where it will talk to my, yeah, myself. So, okay, got it. I'll just close one of the windows. I will come back. Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Sudha Live, and I am Sudha Jamthe. And I'm excited to be here with you on a Friday evening. And we have lots to cover. So, for those of you who are new, I'm a technology of futurist based out of Silicon Valley. And I cover the latest, greatest in the AI world, what is happening, and I focus on AI opportunities, jobs, and internships, and call for papers, and what else? Events, and I also bring a summary of all the things that I have been up to in the week, and what I'm working on, and see where there is opportunity for us to potentially collaborate and do some fun things. Okay, so. Those of you who are here on LinkedIn, so I'm streaming this live on LinkedIn and on YouTube. So say hello, because LinkedIn just gives me who the people are, right? It just says the number of people. Say hello or do a like or post a question. I just want to be talking to you, so we can keep this interactive. Okay, so let me close my unnecessary windows that I don't need to have here, so that I can continue to talk to you. Okay, so the interesting thing this week is there has been a lot of news. And I don't know if you feel that way when you come into LinkedIn every single time. There is something, there's a lot of YouTube summaries of, there was this whole OpenAI Dev Day, and there's a lot of different announcements. And so do you feel like, I felt almost in the beginning of the week, it felt like I was back in the beginning of the internet era, and a lot of hype but a lot of promise. And I heard from people who have been to big events here in Silicon Valley saying, oh, it feels like, the early days of the web, with the promise and the excitement and the number of people coming together and trying to shape ecosystems and whatnot. But surprisingly for me, I am a very passionate, excitable person, and I feel very calm. I'm surprised at myself why I'm so calm. So say hello, say your name or where you're coming from, or anything about what you feel, what you've seen this week, what is exciting. And I have some plans of what I'm planning to cover, but if there is like a burning topic or something that you want me to cover, I'm happy to help you. Okay, and I will definitely answer questions on that. So let me do this first thing. I like to share my inspiration for the week, and so I like to start with congratulations. So let me share my Zoom window. And where is Ine Yankee? I am trying to find her. Okay, LinkedIn feeds. Yes, that's Ine. Okay, so many of you know Ine Yankee from coming to my weekly WED, our global speaker series on Wednesday. Congratulations, Ine. She's quite a force. She's based out of South Sudan and runs Go Girls ICT. Here is the name. And she's big on, bringing innovation and equality in STEM and educate girls on IoT. I'm working with her on a project to, educate these girls on language models, large language models, language AI. And this week, Ine actually joined the GovStack initiative, which is a stakeholder initiative led by the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development for international for Estonia. And it is like 5 different continents people have come together, and she's a mentor, and she's going to come up help these 140 people who are going to build applications that would digitize the government services. So it's beautiful. So congratulations, Ine. I just love what you're doing. And the other thing I saw is, talking of girls in STEM. A lot of contribution of women in the whole world of science has been kept a nice secret. So this is a book called Her Space, Her Time. Um about women. It's such a oxymoron to say women scientists, right? Scientists are scientists, but unfortunately the world as AI has made us say scientists and women scientists. I hate that combination of calling women anything, but this is about physicists who were women who contributed to science and space. So that's what this is. Yeah, are you able to see this, guys? Yes, thank you for that. I was not sharing this tab. So, Her Space, Her Time: How Trailblazing Women Scientists Decoded the Hidden Universe. And so that is what this book is about. And Dina Davis shared this. So thank you for that, Dina. And one of the things that I am very, very excited about is Dr. Fifi Lee. Let me share that window. Let me share that tab. Um, Dr. Fifi Lee. Has launched her book, and she's a pioneer who started this whole computer vision, CNN with ImageNet, with millions of images that we take for granted in open data set to build out computer vision models. And then she's done a lot more. She's founded HAI in Stanford, and wants to put AI. She's a thought leader, global thought leader, and innovator, driving force in the AI space. And she's written a book called The Worlds I See. And I want to get out of the share, and I saw a beautiful quote. So there's been a bunch of interviews because this book launch happened. And there was this interview of Dr. Fifi Lee by Melinda Gates, and they sat inside a self-driving car. That was nice PR, but it did make me go listen to that. So she did some interview on that, and there was a couple more. And one of the things that attracted me in this, I'm already a fan of Dr. Fifi Lee, and she knows what's really happening in the world of AI and how it is evolving, where it should be going, and all that good stuff. But I like this quote that she mentioned from her book. She says, "There is nothing artificial about AI. There are human elements of this technology, from who's creating it, who's producing it, who's communicating it, and who's governing it." Isn't that beautiful? I mean, one of the things I keep saying is uh, that I like teaching people of all vocations to come together and build AI in their jobs, in their communities, in general governing bodies, or create entrepreneurial ventures. So the way I teach things is always thinking, to get you to think, to see where are these gaps to innovate and challenge the thinking of what is out there, and go make something from your experience, from your lived truth, or your vision for the world. And so to actually slice it down, because when we teach a class, we actually say AI has, the ML building life cycle has multiple parts to show where bias creeps in at different stage. But also you need variety of different people to come together to build AI. This is kind of has been spoken about, but I like the way Dr. Fifi Lee says about at every stage there is a human element in there. And uh, in terms of my classes, one of the things I teach AI at Stanford at continuing studies, and I like to teach professional adults, and I teach to several EMBA programs, visiting delegates. And recently, and then I take off a semester where I'm not teaching, and I go and visit companies and get hands-on, so I can build some stuff and get deeper into where the real business problems are, and create my own frameworks on helping people. And so I'm kind of in that phase of that research, and working with companies and talking to companies and doing my visits is what I've been sharing with you recently. So I'm going to go back to teaching Barcelona Technology School, where I visited. Then I continue on remote classes. So I have a class coming up on November 17th. And it is very interesting for me because I teach several different master's program, and I teach AI ethics. So I teach AI. If they already have learned AI as part of their curriculum, then I kind of augment the ethics piece. or I kind of build out this latest in generative AI and then go on to what they could be doing. So the thing with this particular class is what is happening this week. In it, like, got me thinking, because I just looked at what I have thought. This is digital transformation leadership. This is business leaders. That's the masters, and then there is another masters on UX design that is coming up. So these are the two classes that I'm going to be teaching in the next couple of weeks, right? And online, remote, and everything. And they are brilliant innovators, digital transformation leaders who have, who already all have some experience from industry and are come to Barcelona to actually teach, to learn in live classes. And so two aspects of it actually attracted my thought process in how what was happening in the world. So two big news like one is the OpenAI Dev Day that's happening. And then I am seeing a lot of, there is a new Dev Day that is from NVIDIA that's coming up next Friday. So if you're local here in Silicon Valley and you want access to that, I'm happy to share that. And John Lynn, thank you for sharing the link with me in the first place, right? So there's a bunch of dev days which is targeting developers and saying come build on our platform, and here are new announcements. So that's the innovation bubble that we live here in Silicon Valley. And the other set of news I'm seeing is a whole bunch of announcements, which are new product announcements, or product support or research that has been productized, that is in adding multilingual support. So Google has this generative search experience that you can opt in for, and then Google search would turn into a chatbot like ChatGPT, using Bard, and you can say draw, and it will draw things for you like a DALI or Midjourney. Um, what else does it do? It chats with you, and it also does the generative part, right? It is not just like fetching a bunch of links, but it says this is generative, and then it gets that. So Google search has been doing that, and they've been adding more and more languages and more features in it. And this week, Hema Budraju had announced that they have added 120 language support in the Google search with the generative AI, which was awesome. And then there is one other link. Let me share that link. One other thing I saw in the language world. Let me come back to share with you. Yes. Yeah, I believe this is the one window. Yeah. Okay. So I did a webinar on uh, LLMs at Weekly Ved, and I've already done one on LLMs. I've done the second one on how LLM works, looking under the hood. And this week, what I did was about LLMs. The landscape of LLM and how to think about it, because there was this whole buzz about, okay, should we go with more GPT like closed platform? Should we go with something that's open source like Bloom? Or there's a whole landscape of that, and there is more complexity to understanding or demystifying the landscape. So that's what my webinar was about, to think about the capability that is the AI, the LLM can bring you. Think about open and closed source, definitely, but think about what are you doing this for? What business problem is it going to solve? How are you going to uh, build something with this, right? Where is it going to integrate into your workflow? So that's what my webinar was about. And I had mentioned Cohere because it is not an open source, but then Cohere has something called Aya, AYA. Where is that? Where they've invited, it's an open, this section is open source, and they have invited language contributors. So that's the screen you're hopefully seeing here. And this is where you're able to see the various contribution that's coming from around the world, and they've created a leaderboard. And so they said one of the top languages that's bubbling up this week, top contribution, is from Portuguese. And then I saw that there is a language called Malagasy, which is from Madagascar. And I was very intrigued by that. And then I found that in Harvard University, they actually have a course teaching you the basics of Malagasy. So it is very fascinating. So this is, and then when you try to go learn that language in Harvard, they actually have a chat bot for the students. So it is very interesting that you have a chat bot, which is like an AI chatbot, because a lot of people are building chatbots for learning Malagasy in Harvard in English, and then there's a chatbot for it. And so it's like creates a community of students collaborating with each other. So it was very fascinating for me. But what I wanted to say is, what I'm seeing is a lot of multiple language support. So this is a good time for me to tell you that one of my projects I do towards the end of the year is called Global South in AI, which is about adding inclusion to language AI. The way we do that, and I work with Susanna Raj on that, is we put out a call for posters or call for paper, and then we get submissions from everybody from around the globe, and we say, tell us for your language. And this time the theme was generative AI, like everybody else. And I've written a book on generative AI in April, so that was also top of mind for me. So we said, okay, is this something good or bad happening in generative AI, or what do people want? When you sit here in Silicon Valley or a technology company and say, I'm adding support for 120 languages, great. Or if you call like this Aya Cohere for AI is doing, if you call companies to come and add support for language, what do they want to do? This is the tech version of the language support that they're adding. But what is it that they want to do with the language is what we were curious about locally. What problem do they want to solve? And we had a call out. So last night the winners were announced, the acceptance went out, and so we got a lot of different submissions from lot of different countries and regions. The Global South in AI predominantly focuses on Africa, Asia, Latin America, but also indigenous languages and Eastern Europe languages, and the ones that are not mainstream in the language AI, right? so uh, so there were 24 companies, 24 papers, that posters that was accepted. And the kind of languages was Koda, Marma, Kannada, Tamil, Telugu. There was a Nigerian mixed media art, um, and what else? There was Hindi. um, there was something about specific to a region. There were or a country. There were things that was like using AI, generative AI, to look at the data set for that, to do some kind of genome slicing that I saw. uh, there was one on machine doctor borderline schema therapy using gen AI. What else? What else? What else? Oh, there was one for Gen AI for literacy for Mali. There was uh, there was one Ghanaian data set that I'm going to find out more when we tell you more about this. Empowering NLP for African low resource languages, leveraging Llama 2 model for Swahili and Kenyan dialects. Um, there was one on Rangoli, which is kind of like a drawing pattern from India. Rangoli meets Picasso. That's kind of inspiration or hallucination. I'm curious to see where this goes. There was a couple medical ones. There was this cross-lingual speech-to-speech translation approach. What am I missing? Oh, there is one on one from South Sudanese, from Ine Yenki. Her paper got selected. And then there was this beautiful one, disability one called Brush for the Blind. For ecosystem, like the generative AI can generate images. What if you could create an ecosystem for visually impaired to create artwork and earn from it? So there was like a business model in there. So it was fascinating stuff. So everything that I share here usually goes up on the links are goes up on my newsletter, Jamthe newsletter. I love to show you the link always. Here we go. Come on, come on, come on. Okay, so I am going to go share. So bit.ly/Jamthe newsletter. That's the link. Okay. Okay. Are you guys able to see the tabs that I'm sharing? Okay. No, I think it has come back to my face here. Okay. So this is the Jamthe newsletter, and in there you'll see the latest one that goes out. And so in here you will see the link for all the different jobs and calls and everything else that I've been sharing here. So you can see that the list that I showed you at Global South in AI, this will go up live on globalsouthinai.org, the 24 posters with the author names and everything else. And then they'll build out the posters, and then the posters will be showed at the poster session live at NeurIPS conference, NeurIPS 2023 in New Orleans in December. It's just a month away. So I'm super excited about seeing the real thing and getting this into action to make that happen. So that's exciting. So one common theme is a lot of support for multiple languages. And our work is to say, okay, great, you're providing support for multiple languages. What do people in that region in speaking that language? Where is the gap? What do they really want to do? And this is like a subset of what you saw, that 24 of them. So that's one wave that is happening. So Google adding support for 120 languages, and Cohere saying here is Aya project, and you were encouraging developers from various worlds to come and contribute to do that, right? It's not even developers. You could contribute the language translation itself, right? Transliteration and the actual translation sequence for them to build out support for multiple languages. So that is brewing up. You may not see that in mainstream news as much, but we will not be able to reach those markets and be inclusive of all those people if we are not including those languages. So that's great. So I love that. And the other thing that we are seeing is about chatbots, right? A lot of excitement. The dev day was about chatbots, and I'm seeing a bunch on chatbots. So before I go to that, let me see. I have a bunch of other announcements. My student, Vera, let me show that window back to you. This is not that one. So Vera has come up with, she works at Salesforce. She's an AI PM, and she's come up with Einstein for Flow, which is a Salesforce inaugural generative AI tool for automation. And they have a proprietary LLM called CodeGen. So that is fascinating. And then another of my student who had taken my AI ethics course, Tracy York, has a associative professor in Black speculative writing at UBC School of Creative Writing. So there's been a bunch of interesting things. And then usually in my newsletter, I'm just going to give you, instead of reading through things, but I like people who make impact and do things. So I have to tell you about this one. Kid influencers. Let me show the window, guys. It blew my mind away. You would love this. Okay, let me go to LinkedIn and see if somebody has questions for me or anything is going on. Uh, LinkedIn makes me refresh the page to see the questions. Okay, Adil, welcome back. I'm so happy to see you. So I loved your contribution while we were doing the live stuff last week at Sudha Live. So join me in seeing this exciting thing I'm to show you. And then if you have questions, come in. So we've been covering my observation is there's been a lot of multiple language support stuff. And then we're going to get to the chatbots. Those are the two big themes that I'm seeing. So let me go to the exciting window. Come on. Where is that window? That I was trying to show you. Let me close the other windows that are distracting me. Right? I don't need to show the new RIPS papers. We saw that. We saw Aya. I'm closing that window. We saw, here, I found the window. Okay, so this is young influencers. So young people, minors essentially, are influencers on TikTok and social media, right? On Instagram. So they're called TikTok kids or Insta kids, and they're the fastest growing and most influential market of users. And the question is, who profits? Should they Is their content really like qualified as labor? And if they don't have any voting rights or anything of power because they are young. And what about protection of their privacy? So we saw how Facebook was impacting the mental health of teens, and they kind of buried that news and it bubbled up. We did nothing about it, right? So these are influencers who are like volunteering and coming and creating content and enhancing those platforms. So there was an event by Harvard Berkman Klein Center, and the kind of people, Leah Plunkett was leading this, but the kind of people, the in US we have laws that come bubble up from various different states separately instead of generally one federal law. Illinois state came up with the legislation to protect these influencers, these kid influencers, or their young influencers. And so there was a discussion about that happened in this event. So I love that. These are Illinois representatives participating in that. But I want to actually show you the students who are the influencers who are like driving this discussion, right? So this is Chris McCarthy, and he's a student founder and executive director of Quit Clicking Kids. And he's actually founded this in 2020, researching behind the scenes of family influencer accounts. And it's very interesting that a kid actually comes in, and he was helping with framing this Illinois legislation. And this person, Shreya Nallamuttu, is a student and contributor, very powerhouse behind this Illinois legislation on child influencers. So these are the two students who are there driving a conversation, and uh, discussion, and that legislation is in Illinois that could pick up in other places. But what about the privacy of these kids, and what about the rights? They're talking about, okay, if we are producing content on TikTok and Insta, and that is enhancing the platform, and they are selling more ads, should we not be paid out of that? But if you're a kid, you're not getting paid. So it was very fascinating, and I like the privacy aspect of it. My friend Rob Cranenberg has been involved in some of this legislation from Europe on generally protecting children on the internet. And so there's a bunch of people who are participating in that, who are driving forces behind that. But seeing children come in, who are kids who are driving actual legislation, coming in and saying, okay, let's talk about it, was an amazing event. Was very, very refreshing. And you must have seen a couple of weeks back at Weekly, where we had Elisa Torres Dirne. She is 18 years old, and she was 16 when she started Girls in Quantum Computing. And she came and taught us quantum computing. We had some audio difficulties, so we are editing that piece out, and we'll put this on my YouTube and back uh, at my newsletter. So you will get to see. But if you missed out, no problem. Elisa is everywhere in top conferences. She's a super influencer. So she's been speaking in multiple places. So I'm hoping she will join us at New Rips and come talk to us there. So no audio problem, and I will stream it for you. If you missed it, you can hear her session. And she is not just somebody who's learned quantum computing and saying, okay, I'm teaching this, but she's created an organization and has created ambassadors from various different countries to come in and teach quantum computing for children, girls, and everybody else who's interested. But make sure that girls are included in the learning process from 21 different countries in 2 years while she was in high school, right? So it's very fascinating for me. That was one. And then I saw the Fiddler AI event. I had shared that on my LinkedIn. I found that very, very fascinating, because anything that's a corporate event, I have no corporate affiliation. So thank you, Adil, for your comment. So I have no corporate affiliation with any specific company, so I'm kind of very open about uh, what I'm seeing here and bring it to you and analyze it and all that stuff. And I saw Fiddler AI had an event. There was another company who had an event also, whole day event on the 9th, but I refused to share their link because they were talking about enterprise AI and scaling and all that stuff. But every single person who was speaking was a male from of a certain profile, so that's not as inclusive, and I don't want to hear them. So I didn't want to share that. But Fiddler AI did a fantastic job, and they had, a variety of different speakers and topics and workshops. And I attended one on the chatbot, Fiddler chatbot, how it was built, what was the learning in there. It was very eye-opening because there was all this hype about chatbot. So let's come to the OpenAI event. So the big thing in the OpenAI event was they said you could all build your own chatbots, and they are called GPTs. The name GPT sounds very funny to me, but it doesn't matter. So I want you to now talk strategically. You're all business people and product strategists, and now to change the world with AI. So I'm not here to just give you resources to go code, or give you a tool. I want you to think, right? So um, think about how what OpenAI launched and what they have adapted to. I mean, you can get excited about, oh, GPT is now everybody gets their own chatbot. Fine. And they're going to build a app store, right? Building app stores, calling developers to build some tech like an app, is not new, right? In fact, there's a new device that was launched, and again, I'm not going to name it. I have no affiliation, but I've not tried it, and I'm not convinced yet on the value of this. But it's like a tiny device which looks like a tiny version of a, it looks designed almost look like an iPod or iPhone. uh, it is a phone in your pocket. It's not called a phone, but it has connectivity, and it talks ChatGPT. It connects to ChatGPT, and they said we are not building apps, but you wear it, and it has all kinds of IoT gesture and voice control. What I'm not convinced, and it is like $600+. So what I'm not convinced is, I spoke to somebody who actually uses the phone to talk to ChatGPT on his phone while he's driving in the car, and he has kids in the car, and he talks to ChatGPT. So the ChatGPT has given a voice interface using your microphone from your phone, and I can talk to it. If you want to talk to ChatGPT, and there are millions of people, 10 million people who are talking, and then his kids contribute, and so we had this conversation on what kind of things you talk, and how does this experience look like for a family. So that's happening, and this is like a pin. It's not really a pin; it's called a pin, but it's big, right? This big, and and then you talk to ChatGPT, and it does the standard things. I've not seen the imaginative things, or what unique thing it is doing that I need to go buy this device yet, or what is the value of wearing a device on me. It's almost like a phone, and it has a T-Mobile connection, a carrier connection, and I have to pay a monthly fee for that connection, $225 or something. So I'm not yet convinced, but the fact was that talking to ChatGPT, right? So if you think about it, OpenAI launched GPT, and there was BERT. That from I've done this lesson, right? BERT and GPT image and all those things evolved over many years in the tech world, and GPT 3.5 Turbo was what they launched as an application. So developers were building on GPT 3, they were waiting for GPT 4. Then OpenAI came with a GPT 3.5 Turbo, and they built an application called ChatGPT, and then the world could interact and got excited and started chatting, right? So there were APIs platforms that was launched before calling developers to build, and they were still calling developers to build even after ChatGPT was launched. But people were able to prompt. So the whole prompt engineering, what is called as prompt engineering, took off because now you can talk like a human. Now you can talk by voice, or you can chat and type words, and the AI will fetch you things, right? And it is talking almost like a human, understanding context, and that's the beauty of all LLMs. So that's great, right? But I am a very big believer, I love data, so I'm a very big believer of listening to the market whatever you want to sell, because when you do product management, you think this is the feature that is going to solve this particular problem for your customers. You're going to productize it and create this experience. That's what your job as product manager. No, your job is to put this out as a MVP, minimum viable product, and listen to the market. If the market validates what you think is what what they want, they will engage, they will complain, they will drop off, your data will tell the story. I find that super fascinating, because people who listen and adapt and say, why are customers not tuning in here? Why are customers going this other place? And what is happening? Why are they not signing up in big herds like we thought they would? When they try to understand and adapt and test and learn, then they win. And it's a win for the customer too, right? So the good thing with chat gpt that has happened is people took off, and I remember sitting in a meeting with OpenAI, talking to developers, and said, yeah, chat gpt is there, but talk to us because we are selling you GPT-4 also has multimodal support and this and that, right? Even the dev day was targeted at developers. And then they said, you know what, you don't even have to be a developer, and you can go build gpts, right? That's the new thing, right? It's like you have to build using as a developer. That's where the real meat is. And then you're like, you don't even have to be a developer, you can do this. That's the prompt engineering piece, right? That's how this whole generative AI world is evolving, with prompt engineering and with APIs and the API economy, right? But what I liked about what OpenAI has done is they listened to the market. They said, you know what, we launched all these APIs, we are selling all these APIs, and even in this announcement, they're talking to developers and they said, we've reduced your price. We are giving you better capabilities, a lot of different integrations. Use us, build with us. They're talking to developers, but they also have somebody in the company who says, wait a minute, guys, people are talking with ChatGPT using prompts, and we cannot ignore it because that number is going up. Can we monetize that? So they came up with this option of a GPT, which is on top of ChatGPT, right? So you're building. So earlier I've had a conversation with people in enterprise saying, what platform should I use? That's why I did this LLM landscape webinar, right? So there is going to be a fourth section of the webinar, like for part 4, where I'm going to go deeper into the various LLMs and the various options available to build the chatbots, and then walk you through on how to build the chatbot. It's not a how to lesson, but it's decision making selection, and I will do a how to, just because it will be complete only when I do that, right? But I building a chatbot is not just about, I've shown this last week, it's not just about feeding it content and then it queries, right? We did that with H2O, GPT H2O.ai. So it's gpt.h2o.ai. I fed my resume a couple weeks back and chatted, and I made it extract information and query. Last week, I uploaded my generative AI primer for product and business managers book, and we queried it. And thank you, Adil, you contributed to questions on that. So we did that, but that's not really solving a business problem. So coming back to chat, hang in there with me about this whole concept of building chatbots. So, and I will teach you more in my weekly wed next week on the the fourth episode of this LLM. Okay, I promise that, so that you can understand, to make sense of the various landscape of what's available there. Because I do not want to give you a tool and influence you in one way or the other. I want you to think, right? But so the good thing is ChatGPT got adoption from people just chatting with it in English, and it has a claim of understanding 95 other languages. So it understands other languages to various degrees. And because of that, they have launched this GPT. But the interesting thing is, one of my classes, remember I said 2 classes I teach in Barcelona Technology School. One is on business transformation leadership, and one is on AIX design. There are 2 more other masters. I'm not going to talk about that right now. I teach also in masters in product management and big data and AI masters. But the immediate 2 ones coming up are very relevant to this, what is happening and how OpenAI is doing this, offering, trying to monetize ChatGPT and all that good stuff. And hang in there. So the first thing is, typically, the technologies are launched for developers. Developers play with the tools, and if it's an API, they build on it, and they build something. And think of the parallel I can think of is, I used to run Facebook meetups in Silicon Valley. I also ran the Twitter meetup, Pinterest meetup, Google Plus meetup. I was crazy about all the social platforms at that time. This is 2007 to 10 9 frame time frame. And developers came and built, and they were brilliant, amazing developers, but this was a closed platform. How many apps are you using out of the closed platform, Facebook apps out there today? But there were a lot of apps that were built, and there was a lot of excitement, and people wanted to understand virality and what scales and analytics and what applications are people like really adopting, and all that good stuff, right? So that's what the app store model is, if you're going to allow people to build more chat gpts, right, or gpts on top of chat gpt, right? But the and you're calling for the imagination of the developer to come up with some killer app on why people want to build personal chatbots, right? And whether that is going to take off is left to you. But what I want to point out is two things. One is, there is a disproportionate excitement of developers who are saying, we have arrived and this is it, and this is amazing. And I literally hear from developers talking with this much excitement about the latest announcement, and it is like gpt can visualize in its brain what it is, because it's integrating multimodal imagery, right? And things like that, right? And it's amazing. Now these developers can go build stuff, right? And but then the people who are going to buy the stuff that is being built by the developers are going to be the customers on the enterprise side. And I'm seeing a very disproportionate response of the technologist being overly excited, and enterprise saying, what am I paying for? Where's the money in this? Where's the ROI? Too many scattered different product options of platforms in here. Will I get logged in with a tech platform? And then they'll change the price on me, and their privacy policies might not be, aligned with my values. All those stuff, right? So there is like a disproportionate excitement is what I am seeing. So this is what I'm going to bring to my business transformation leadership class, to see how do you think about this as a leader, that you do not want to say, okay, I'm not excited about technology, because technology is here and it is going to be iterated by these excited developers who are going to take it somewhere. But how do you contribute and be part of it to drive it in a direction that you want, so that it creates value for your business, for your career, for your entrepreneurial vision, or wherever you want to take it, or bring your experience and say, I didn't think of it, now maybe we can collaborate and go somewhere. And can you think about the opposite of an industry that happened, where the business people and the product managers were excited about it, and the technologists said, we are building technology, this is exciting for us, we got started because this is a hard problem to solve, but we are not quite there. And the excitement of developers on the technology side was lesser, in terms of proportion, right, compared to the product and business people who said, now we can monetize it, and what if we did this, what if we did that? Can you imagine what industry was that in the recent past? And I can tell you from my excitement on what I focus on, it is one of those industries. What is it? One of those where the technology response, let me go back to my LinkedIn to see whether I'm seeing some answers. Okay, I have to click on the notification, and then that's where it's going. Okay, so do you have a response? Do you have an idea on what industry are we talking about? That it was the other way around, where the excitement was higher from the business people who said, this is unbelievable, and we are going to be doing things with this, and this is a potential business model. And let me tell you, the answer is the self-driving car. With the self-driving car, there was a promise of level 5. We have not yet reached level 5, but there was this whole excitement on, we will reach level 5, the car will drive by itself, and then what will happen? Things like that, right? And so I see a comment. If you want to email me, you can just reply back to my newsletter, and it will come to me and my team. So that's an easiest way to reply, if you prefer the email route, and happy to learn more. Okay, so the self-driving car industry was one where I remember Elon Musk talking about how the robot taxi is going to come in a year. This happened maybe 3 4 years back, and in a year, every Tesla is going to become a fleet, is going to be a robot taxi that will actually give it out for lease or rent to other people to use their cars as taxis, because this was going to become fully autonomous. Never happened. And but the excitement about was about the business model of the robotaxi. And then there are robotaxis that exist. Cruise was trying to run autonomously and got pulled out, but it's still allowed to run and do test runs. Waymo is the one that is still running officially as a taxi and a paid taxi, and I think they have some kind of deal with Uber. So in Phoenix, if you get a Uber, you can get a self-driving Waymo or a human-driven regular car options, and that is one of those business models, right? There's been many others, and then there's been like autonomous mobility robots where the autonomous technology got pivoted. There have been many others. So I don't want to digress into the whole autonomous vehicle space because I've done classes on that. I love it. So if you go to my Business School of AI site, you can see a bunch of classes from the past, and we had a master class on autonomous vehicles by David Kerrigan, and we had one on digital twins and value creation from data from Alexander Varga. So there's a lot of options. So if that's your interest, you can ping me, message me here and on LinkedIn, and I'm happy, or go check out the site, right? That was the industry, that was the opposite. So now what we are seeing now is there is a lot of excitement of developers, and then there is a lot of skepticism. Like, I would not even call it skepticism, it is kind of cautioned optimism from enterprise. So think about this strategically. What is your role? How can you make that connection with the developers excitement, let that exuberance rub on you, and bring your questions to get innovation to solve for your problems? So that's what I would say. And the second thing is on the UX design. So I have a book called AIX, Designing Artificial Intelligence, which is a couple years old. And I teach this UX AIX framework. I've published this. So if you see my Google Scholar, you can see it. I published this officially in Kagawa University as an AIX framework, which is how to think about, like, if you're a UX designer, how to get started in designing artificial intelligence. So you create, like applying UX principles. And now I am teaching a course at Elisava University. It's Elisava School of Design and Engineering in Barcelona. So I went in person and did this, and then I will continue remote, and then I will go back again in person. And we are teaching designers artificial intelligence so that they can use their design thinking and creativity to come solve for problems, and they will create projects and all that stuff. So that's where they are going with this. And so I'm big on this UX designers and product designers having a framework to think about what is the experience of the customer. So one of the things that fascinated me in the Fiddler AI presentation I saw about building the chatbot, and was when you look at the Fiddler AI chatbot, as soon as you make a query, it gets information from its document and answers, but it starts answering it, right? You start seeing it fill the screen. And so that was a conscious design decision they did. They said, think about travel site, and you put a query, and it says it's spinning, and then it gets you a lot of options, right? A lot of different prices. And while you're waiting on that spinning, you're saying it's working because it's going to get me a good price. But if you talk to a chatbot and it says spinning, you're not going to trust it. It says like, oh, the site is slow. You do that on mobile. When we are loading something, it's like, oh, it's slow, and we'll go away, right? So they consciously said, by fetching information, the user starts reading, because this textual information, it takes time to read. So you don't want to fetch everything and then give a blob of 5 sentences. So that, I thought, was very smart design thinking, right? Thinking about the experience of the user. So coming back to chatbots and chat GPT, the my framework talks about, how you interact with the customer. Think about who are the personas, who are the different stakeholders. Think about the AI persona. Does the AI has a certain tone in its voice? Is it going to proactively answer your questions and all those stuff, right? That's all part of my framework. And I was very impressed that in the GPT, when they say build a GPT, they're basically saying what is the GPT that you want to build, and again, it's done from a tech perspective. What is the data it is going to use? What kind of queries are they asking? But they have a little bit of what is the tone of the conversation that you want. And because in all these editing tools, everything that is generative AI, it can actually say, um, change the tone. Even on a Google Doc, you can actually select a document. You can start typing and say, now I want it to be formal, and you can do that. And I think you can do that in Grammarly. Let me show you the window of Grammarly if that's interesting for you, because in Google Doc you can definitely do this. I played with it recently. In Grammarly, you have the generative AI, and you say set your voice, right? You can actually set a voice, and you can start with a project, and it will even give you suggestions for improvement and all those things, right? And you can, and tone correction is one of those things that all the generative AI writing tools are doing. So in GPT, it says what is the tone you want it to be, formal, you want it to be friendly. And then you don't want, because this, even if you put your document, it is going to chat GPT and query. So everything that is medical information, I think it is not correct, and so or it hallucinates and it's risky. So they say, okay, we don't want information that's legal or medical. Those are the two things ChatGPT themselves do. So when you build a GPT, they give you the choice, and you get to select and say, I don't want information from medical and legal to be included in the repository of its brain when it gets me information. And but there is this whole thing about tone, which is very, very basic in terms of UX designers. But if you are a UX designer, or if you're going to take my class in Barcelona on UX design, we'll talk about this. How do you apply the AIX framework that I've built for general AI, apply that for generative AI, specifically for a chatbot, for a human centered conversation with generative AI? We're going to look into that. And if you are working in that space, if you have opinions or anything, I'm happy to hear from you. And then one of the other things I'm going to do next week is next Tuesday, I'm going to go to Professor Tehra Sahib, Sonia Tehra Sahib's class in Menlo College. And these are students learning to be data scientists. And I'm going to teach AI ethics for them. So I have the same concept of fairness and GDPR and bias and fairness metrics. What else? Explainability, right? And I'm going to go through that, and then this general concept of, what is the responsibility. But I'm looking specifically, if you're a data scientist, what kind of things you can do. So if there's topics that you have working with, if you're a data scientist and you say these are important when you're teaching somebody to be a data scientist and to think about AI ethics, talk about it. And one of the developers, Yashwant, raised this last week at the weekly Wednesday when I was doing the LLM presentation on the landscape. And he said ChatGPT and the GPT models are built not just with books and internet data, but internet data, including Reddit forums. And so that would bring the tone. That's why they're managing the tone. But that will bring the tone and also the inaccuracy of content. And so it's kind of unethical. So he was talking about, when you look at a model, you might want to think about what it is trained on, and from whatever they're sharing that it is trained on. So that was one of the consideration. So we spoke about multiple language support is one. Multiple companies are doing multiple chatbots. So what I have come to the conclusion this week is, I'm not convinced that you can build multiple chatbots and create an app store, and that's a fundamental business there. But if you can map the excitement of developers to enterprise, and if you're enterprise watching, a lot of companies are launching chatbots. I think it is worth it to try, but don't think of it as, oh, I'll put my data and I'll query. The customer will come and query for what? How does it connect back to your workflow? What is the customer problem you're going to solve? How are the metrics by which you're going to know that this is successful? And there was a marketing leader who was at the Fiddler presentation, and she was talking about, how does this affect your brand? And I was thinking, if I talk to a chatbot and it doesn't give me the answer, I am going to distrust the brand. I'm going to get irritated on they don't care enough to provide proper customer service for me. And this happened when customer service and ops moved towards social media. And service ops departments are also thinking about this as a yet another channel or a way of communicating with customers. So think about that, right? There are various dimensions to think about it based on what your job focus and function is, like what Dr. Fifi Lee said, who is building it and who is governing it, right? And all those, right? You have a role on who is productizing it, and is that your role? How are you thinking about it? So that would be very, very important. So I think I've covered. And so in Elisava, in University Elisava School of Design and Engineering in Barcelona, I'm looking for a teaching assistant who knows AI, who will be on site at the class while I'm teaching the class. um, so if you know anybody have recommendation, please give them to me. You can tag people here, or you can reply back to my newsletter and talk to me, like I was telling other. And I also found there are two new PhDs at University of Michigan and Oxford. I will put that in the newsletter. I'll also share the link. Alexander Rodriguez is assistant professor of computer science in University of Michigan, looking for PhDs in the fall 2024, and develop new AI methods for modeling spatio-temporal dynamics in complex system. And then the Oxford one is the Oxford Applied and Theoretical Machine Learning Group. It's called OATML. They're organizing a virtual open day on the 22nd of November. Um, and for anyone who's thinking about joining their group for a PhD, and you can talk to the other people in the team and ask questions. And so that I thought was very interesting. So I'll put both of these in the LinkedIn and also in the bit.ly Jamthe newsletter link. So I think I've covered everything that I have. I have a bunch more other things that I will include in the reading material for you guys. I think that is pretty much it. And oh, I saw one more called Principles of ba, ba, ba. Principles of Afro-feminist AI data. It's almost like a tongue twister. I never expected it to be a tongue twister. I don't know why. Okay. Where is that? Where is that? Okay. Here. Do you see the screen? So this is a book you can download from AI4D. This is AI4D.ai, Africa.ai4D.ai. And they have this book called I'm going to do that again. Principles of Afro-Feminist AI Data. And the whole book is available for download. And thank you to Amber Sinha and Babina Zulfa. Okay, so that's it, guys. So I will add all that in the reading list. And thank you to Paria Serin, because she works with me to get all these links that I come up with in sequence and organize that and send out the Jamthe newsletter on Monday. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. I am going to see you back on Friday at Sudha Live. Hope we will continue to talk through the week. I'm going to do the fourth part of the webinar on LLM focused on chatbots. So talk to me what I said about the disconnect between enterprise and developer excitement. Are you seeing it? Do you not agree? How are you managing it? And what is your focus, and how are you thinking about this? Because I want to help you, right? Because I think that whether there is excitement or not, whether there's a skewed excitement, it doesn't matter. That there is innovation happening in that space, you need to be part of that innovation. You need to contribute. You need to make it work for you, and this is real. So I hope that we can continue that learning on Wednesday at weeklywed, and bit.ly weeklywed/weeklywed registration. Or if you just join Business School of AI on LinkedIn, it's a free group, then you will get it streamed to you. But if you want to get the Zoom, that's where you'll get. But otherwise, if you join the Jamthe newsletter, you'll get everything. Okay, with that, I have to go to a party because it is Diwali this week. That is our festival of light. There's a huge party that happens in various different tech companies. So before I go, let me show you the one from IBM that was shared. I wish I was at the party. This is usually the companies host their own party. So thank you, Suja Viswesan. She shared their Diwali party. And look at that dance and all the different beautiful outfits. So thank you, Suja. This happened at IBM, I believe. And so I'm going to go to a Diwali party that's happening. Diwali is this weekend. So in India, it is like a multi-day affair. Here, we just dress up and party and eat and dance. And so looking for that. So with that, let me just check. I see a notification, so I don't want to miss out if you have any more questions. Okay, thank for the session. Thank you, Adil. Thank you for hanging around. I would love for you to introduce what is your background, what is your interest in generative AI. Are you working in AI? Because it's not just me, right? I mean, you can connect with me. Obviously, I'm happy to follow up offline, no problem. But there are people who come and watch this who are working in the various dimensions of this, and so they would love it if maybe there is some room for collaboration with you. You'll never know, right? So I would urge you to just add your or add what you're working on, or what you're looking at. Is there some research you're working on or anything like that that would help other people to connect with you? And thank you for coming. I appreciate. Thank you for engaging. I appreciate. And all those people who didn't engage but you were watching, I can see your number. Thank you for that. And this recording will be here on LinkedIn. If you're watching on LinkedIn later, you can tag a friend or come back, ask questions, and if within a reasonable time, I'll get notifications. I will reply back. Otherwise, we'll put the YouTube recording embed on the Jamthe newsletter. bit.ly/Jamthe newsletter is your answer for everything from my world. Okay, so with that, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you, everybody, and stay safe. Have a fun weekend, and I will see you next week. I'll see you at Weekly Wed, or I'll see you next Sudha Live on Friday. Bye. Ciao. So let me stop the live stream first. Bye, everybody.